So what are we gonna do today, Cousin PW?
The same thing we do every day, Melvin. Try to take over the neighborhood.
Hey y'all, Bloodwing here, back to bring some grumpiness to your internet. Before we get started with this video, I wanted to reach out and give a thanks to my new subscribers. I sure went from 500 to 600 pretty quick, and I sure appreciate it. Hey Scooter, why don't you let them know how we feel?
I'd say you and Blood got an extra special relationship. Like cousins taking a bath together. Oh.
Thanks, Scooter. And I really mean it. We really do appreciate the new subs. Well, today, we're going to take a look at somebody that, yes, I know I just recently done a video on him. But I run across something new of his that I just had to speak to. And yes, you got it. We're talking about good old Uncle Steve Shives. Now, we all know that he likes to block people on Twitter and off his YouTube channel and so forth, to the point that he's living in his very own little echo chamber, just him and his stuffed animals. But did you know that Uncle Steve thinks he's smarter than all of us? It's true. And to see what I'm talking about, let's take a look at this.
Hey folks, welcome to The Ramble. You know, there is a bit of contemporary folk advice that tells us to fake it till we make it. And that can actually be good advice, depending on the circumstances. Aspiring writers are often taught to always say yes when a potential job comes up. Even if they think it's a job they won't be able to do. Always say yes, and then figure out how you're going to accomplish whatever you agreed to do later. And that's something that can actually help you to grow as a writer, and it can actually be very exciting to sort of live by the seat of your pants, to commit to doing something that you're not entirely sure you even can do, and then figure out how to do it so that you can deliver on what you promised to do.
Now, I have to admit, while I've heard similar sentiments, I've never quite heard it put that way, fake it till you make it, but I've heard similar things said. I'm not necessarily in favor of that. I prefer honesty in people. If you don't know how to do something, then be honest about it. Be willing to learn how, which is what I think this is more going towards. But we're going to get a definition by Steve here in a minute, but of what he thinks it means. But I've seen way too many jobs go off the rail because somebody pretended like they knew, didn't have the guts to say they didn't know how, and proceeded anyway. But also, we're going to find out in a little bit, he'll talk about it later in the video, that Steve is an English major. So what I'm getting from this is that it's okay for him as a writer, an English major, to use this philosophy, but not for the rest of us, as we'll see here in just a moment.
But the thing is, I noticed some folks, for instance, the current president of the United States, or even, and I know this is hard to believe, some folks here on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right, folks. He's going there yet again.
Who seem to be stuck at the fake it stage of that particular piece of advice. They just seem like they're going to keep on faking it, and they have no intention of ever even trying to make it. And at this point, I should probably clarify that fake it till you make it doesn't mean fake it until you are handsomely rewarded for faking it. It doesn't mean make it in that sense, at least not as the phrase has traditionally been understood. If that is what that phrase meant, then Donald Trump and many of the aforementioned folks on YouTube who have managed to derive quite substantial incomes for themselves from basically just being incredibly shitty people in front of their video cameras would be the absolute epitome of following that advice, because they indeed faked it until they made it.
Do I detect a little bit of jealousy there, Steve? Are you mad because some people have made it that you don't agree with, and maybe you look at your life and see that it's kind of sad and you haven't made it anywhere? And regardless, like I said, I prefer honesty. I prefer that people be honest about what they can do and can't do, but then be willing to learn. And most of us on YouTube, or at least in this corner of YouTube, freely admit from the very beginning we don't know how to do this, and we seek out help on how do we do this, how do we do this. Of course, we know, and we're going to know even further, that he's talking about knowledge-wise, and that's where it'll come in that he thinks we're stupid. But Steve, is that the definition because you say it so? Or have you maybe messed up the definition? Because honestly, I don't see where continually faking it is going to get you anywhere but in trouble. You're never going to get to the make it, as you put it, not by continually faking. And I guess that's what you're trying to say about our side of the YouTube. Like, you know, all of us fit that mold. We're all like that. Sure we are, Steve. You know, we're all in that mold.
When you say fake it till you make it, what you actually mean, again, conventionally, as people have traditionally used this phrase, is fake it until you can actually do the thing that you are faking being able to do. Everyone has probably had to bluff their way through a situation from time to time. We've all had to fake it temporarily in certain situations, and sometimes it works. Sometimes you can fake your way through and you can get out on the other side and no one's the wiser. But in everyday life, that is an extremely limited strategy. That is a very poor long-term strategy, unless you are able to surround yourself with people who always fall for your bluffs.
For what it's worth, Steve, I agree with you. It's a very poor strategy to use on an everyday basis. To just fake it and not really know what you're doing. I would prefer that people know what they're doing. You're assuming that we don't know what we're doing. You're assuming that we haven't done any research. We'll get into that more later. But, you know, I do agree that it's a poor strategy day to day, but then you end it by saying, unless you surround yourself with people that you can dazzle with BS, more or less, to put my own spin on it. So not only do you think that we're stupid, you think the people that listen to us are stupid. And if you think I'm reaching by saying he says that, wait till the end of this before you make that conclusion. Now, we're going to skip part of this and move ahead a little bit, because the next big chunk is just a whole bunch of him whining and whinging about Trump, which is not important to what I want to point out right now. But if you want to watch the whole video, if you're a real masochist, the link's down in the description below. You go right ahead. But we're going to skip forward to the part that's about my area of the internet, which is what I wanted to take a look at today.
When YouTube trolls challenge feminists to what they call debates, or other people who they would categorize as social justice warriors, not just specifically feminists, they challenge them to what they call debates. People who are actually educated on the subjects that they want to debate can dismiss their challenges as frivolous right away.
Oh, laws, yes, Mr. Shives, Mr. Shives, sir. Oh, laws, yes. You're so much more educated than I am. I'm just a dumb old redneck. And oh yeah, M-O-O-N. That spells educated. And you're so much smarter than we are. Of course, why would you listen to us? Extra points to those that got that reference, by the way. Yeah. Steve, I hate people like you. I try not to hate anybody, I really do. But I hate educated elitists. You know, not all of us had a chance to go to college, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But it doesn't mean we're stupid. And just because we have a difference of opinion than you doesn't mean you're stupid. You have no idea how much research, how much reading, how much looking into the subject matter that a lot of us do, maybe not all, but a lot of us do, before we tackle one of your guys' videos or article or whatever it is that we're taking apart. Just because the other person doesn't agree with your garbage doesn't mean they're dumber than you, Steve. Don't you get it?
Because a debate operates when both parties in the debate are informed on the subject that they are going to debate about. They're both informed on the subject and they just have a disagreement, so that's what they're debating about.
You're right, Steve. A debate is much better if both parties are informed about their particular points of view. What makes you think that we're not? Are you afraid that maybe you'll get shown up by somebody that you've consistently called stupid and uninformed?
But when an anti-feminist who knows fuck all about feminism wants to debate a feminist, the feminist has mountains of evidence.
And so do we, Steve. We have a mountain of evidence against your mountain of evidence. See, here's the difference between someone like you and someone like me. I try to treat my subscribers, the people that listen to me, like they're intelligent enough to figure things out on their own. Your side is all about listen and believe. People just aren't that stupid. You know what? I learned to read when I was 5 years old. I was reading the newspaper. This is the truth. Before I even entered first grade, I was reading the newspaper, and I've been reading ever since. And I am able to read all the evidence that is freely available on the internet. I know how to go to a library if necessary. We have just as big a mountain of evidence as you do, Steve. What are you afraid of?
Because anti-feminists aren't quiet about the fact that they hate feminism. They put their ignorance and their misunderstanding about feminism right out in the open for everybody to see. So all any of their prospective debate opponents has to do is just pay attention to some of their work for a few minutes, and they can realize, oh, okay, I'm not going to debate that person, because they have no fucking clue what they're talking about. And why would a person who is informed and educated on a given subject want to waste time debating someone who obviously has no fucking clue what they're talking about?
Again, what are you afraid of, Steve? You would think that if you considered your opponent in a debate to be as uneducated as you're claiming here, then that would be a win for you. You could make them look stupid, you could run circles around them, and there would be a W in the win column for feminism. So what are you afraid of? If we're all so stupid, if we're all so much less educated than you, then what are you afraid of? But no, we're beneath you, aren't we? We're just the scum on the bottom of your shoes. Why, we all just too stupid to keep up with you, Mr. Steve. What was I thinking to even think you might want to talk?
When I put myself in their shoes, I can kind of see the appeal. Because it's much easier to pretend that you are a sharp-witted intellectual than to actually be a sharp-witted intellectual. Education takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And not everybody is cut out for education in every given subject, especially if the subject they are aspiring to master is a complex and challenging subject. And
Yeah, Steve, some people aren't cut out for higher education. But you do realize that not all of us that did not seek higher education didn't do it just because we're too dumb for it. Let me use myself as an example. I graduated high school on Sunday and went to work on Monday. You know why? Because we were poor and we couldn't afford to put me through college. It wasn't because I was stupid. I've got plenty enough brains upstairs. I won't say what the exact number is, but I've consistently been tested at a very high IQ. No Einstein, but very respectable. But I don't want to rub my high IQ in your face. Why do you want to rub your college education in mine? And do you think your college education makes you smarter than me? It just makes you a little more informed on some things. And we'll find out in a minute just exactly what it is you're informed on by your college education. But you know what? The rest of us can learn those things too if we put our mind to it. We can read books, we can read things on the internet, we can research all the things that you probably researched in college. They're all at our fingertips in this electronic age. But no. Education's not our bag. We're just too uneducated for Mr. Shives. We're all just too stupid, you know, and he understands why we're stupid. Why not everybody can be as smart as him, of course. You know, no shame in being a dummy. Jeez, Steve, I really, really dislike educational elitists like you.
I have said before, that's the main reason why my own education focused on English rather than some other subject that I might also have a great interest in.
So you're an English major, Steve? That's what makes you so intellectually superior to all us anti-sjws? An English major? That's why you can understand feminism better than any of the rest of us? You do realize that people on my side have degrees too. Probably some more technical than English. Your English degree? Really? Oh, good gosh. Steve, you're probably the kind of guy that would meet me in real life, hear my funny accent, and think that I'm just a dumb old redneck. And you go ahead and think that. Lots of people have, to their detriment. You know, I play up this dumb old redneck thing quite a bit, but believe me, the dumb part is an act. And if people like you, Steve, I just got no time for people like you, you frickin' narcissistic, elitist jackass. That's all I can take of Steve. There's more to the video, a little bit more. If you want to watch it, like I said, and you're feeling really masochistic, go ahead, links down in the description. But I'm done with him for now. And as always, Steve, get out of my yard.